Hi, Shopmaker podcast listeners. I am so excited to be joined this week by David Scott Peters, one of my favorite people and great resources in the restaurant and hospitality industry in all things related to operation and improving your profits to improving your work-life balance. And I think what you'll find in this discussion is we touch on all of these great areas, as well as the importance of reevaluating them now after we've gone through the last 2 years. And I think you'll find this is a great conversation, and I'm truly thankful for David to join us today. All right, welcome to this week's episode of the Shopmaker podcast. I'm so excited to be joined by one of my favorite people, David Scott Peters. David, thank you so much for being here today.
It is my pleasure, as always.
Well, great. So this is unique because we get to talk about David now. So what I would love to do is learn a little bit about your background, how you got into doing what you do now, and a little bit more about what drives you.
It was a long journey, but one that many probably have experienced. I grew up working for the toughest manager I know, my mother. And we had our own restaurant catering business back in Linwood, New Jersey, and she was tough. Why? She would not allow there be any favoritism. So she worked my sister and I twice as hard as everybody else. So I hated it as a teenager. Truth of the matter is, as you and I have talked about, she's done me a favor because she gave me a work ethic like nobody else around me. So my career, I kept elevating very quickly, all because of her. And later I took those skill sets, went to school. I worked at various jobs from doorman and host and things like that because I still had that bug for the industry. But I eventually came out of college, did some things, but next thing you know, I was bartending. Next thing you know, I was bar managing. Next thing you know, I was the operations manager for a multi-unit brew pub and cafe here in Phoenix, Arizona, called Coyote Springs Brewing Company and Cafe in the early 90s when brew pubs were opening one a week. And we're starting to see that resurgence, but back then we were beer snots. We didn't really care as much about service and food. It's all about the beer. And unfortunately, that we opened our second location, and that was like owning a boat, a hole in water in which you throw money. And that's where all the challenges that I see independents go through all the time is where I cut my teeth. I learned the importance of cash flow. I learned the importance of holding managers accountable and having systems in place. So it really is one of the best experiences I've ever had. Took those skill sets and worked for a company called Famous Sam's, a 30-unit restaurant sports bar chain, as a franchisor. Went in as an ops person, but within 2 weeks, I was promoted director of operations. And then about a year, little into it, the guys who bought the company damn near bankrupted it. We had opened 8 stores. I brought in my own ops team. We were doing training. It was going gangbusters. These guys damn near bankrupted the company. And so as upper management left, I went and taught at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, management, human resources, wines, and spirits. So I'm not a chefy type. You do not want to see my knife skills. They're horrendous, but I could run anybody's kitchen. Give me the right systems. I can order based on par levels and budgets, and schedule off of staffing guides and budgets, open and close every station off, opening and closing side work checklists. Like, I can run a kitchen. What I can't do is cook. And that's the importance of the systems. That was part of that lesson I learned at Coyote Springs. Well, as I was teaching, I was consulting, and the minority shareholders of Famous Sam's, who were now the majority shareholders, kept asking me back, and I kept saying no, no, no. And it's about a month before my first child was born, I went, okay. And I walked into a disaster. Company should have been bankrupt, done. Yet I was told, turn the company around and sell it in 5 years. And I missed that goal by 3 months. And so I know what it is to be an independent operator. I know what makes a chain successful. And I view my world as giving the independent the same systems and tools that chains use without losing your independence. We love our guests, we love our employees, but we are going to do what they do well, and that's make money. And that parlayed into creating a restaurant training and coaching company back in 2003 till 2018, what built from workshop seminars into a software company, where at that point in time, my business partner approached me to buy me out. And since then, I've been back to my roots, and that's where I'm coaching individuals in a group coaching format to give you the same systems and tools. But more importantly, the biggest lesson I've learned over these years is restaurant prosperity is what I teach, and that is freedom for your restaurant, the financial freedom you deserve. I now focus more on you and your mindset and getting you a life. Because if I can help you get a life, then you have systems in place and managers in place, and you're making money. And so what I've really discovered is it is about you as a leader in your business and getting you the time off. That's when things take off.
No, it's such a fascinating story on so many levels. What I think is incredible is that you saw the transition to software at the beginning, right? Before people would have even thought of software in a restaurant. And so talk us about what software can do for an independent restaurant owner.
Well, it's really amazing what it can do. Because I'll take you back to my Coyote Springs days. I learned how to program Visual Basic for Excel. So I made Excel operate like a software program. And this is back when we'd modem in and out of each one of our locations using a software piece called PC Anywhere, which just allowed you, like you hear that noise, old people, we can hear, right? We're modeming in to pass data. And it really revolutionized how we manage our cash flow and how we ordered and how we inventoried and calculated cost of goods sold. And back then, there was only one piece of software out there, Food Tracks. And it was majorly for the hotels and venues and maybe some chains. So there wasn't a lot of options, but I saw the power of it then. As I became a coach and, fast forward a decade later, you sit there and say, okay, wait a second. My members are like, David, I love your spreadsheets. I'm tired of putting the same number into 5 different spreadsheets: gross sales, gross sales, gross sales, gross
Right.
sales. I'm tired of them not being connected. I'm tired of doing recipe costing cards, major heavy lifting. And by the time I'm finished in a spreadsheet, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Because the next delivery that comes in, I have to update prices. And if I don't do that, if they're not all connected, which are not because they were spreadsheets, they're all wrong. And so I every 6 months to a year, I'd put in this Herculean effort to redo. I don't want to do that anymore. And then one of the big things is I'm tired of my managers by accident or on purpose manipulating my spreadsheets because I'm not a spreadsheet person. So now, they're making bonus with an error by accident in a formula because you don't know how to lock it out. And that's a whole nother thing. And so all of a sudden, my members said, David, we want something much easier. And so from the ground up, bootstrapped and all, we created all of my systems into a full suite of software that handled all aspects of your business. And whether they're separate or an all-in-one, the truth of the matter is you must have software to run your business today because our margins are disappearing. Right now, as we're talking, we're still in the Great Resignation. Our inflation has food prices higher than they've ever been, and they keep going up to a point where we can't raise our prices much more, to where what we're going to charge the guest and what's on the plate is the value's not there.
Yeah.
So we've got to get really creative. And now you give me recipe costing cards where every time an invoice comes in, you take a picture with your phone and off to the magic cloud it goes, and boom, every recipe card's up to date, every order's up to date, your next inventory is up to date. But now I can do an analysis on and do a menu engineering stint where, based on what my customers actually ordered, my POS system, not some national average, I can find my ideal food cost and change the menu, raise prices, reduce costs, get rid of items, shift things, bring on a new item, decide what I'm going to merchandise, and bring my food costs down. And then you go one step further. We start going, a typical restaurant runs 7 to 9 points above their ideal cost. Well, with this software, I can get to the meeting with my chef and go, hey, chef, why is your food cost high? Instead of getting, I don't know, I can hand him a piece of paper and highlight 5 lines and go, you were supposed to use 350 pounds of chicken. You used 400 pounds. Fix it. And it's like the power of having the data at your fingertips is amazing, but it ain't a magic pill, right? I want to make sure people understand it's still work. I suck. I create work. But once you put that heavy lifting in, it's like spinning a plate. All this effort, you're going to have to put all this effort in spinning the plate till it spins so fast that it balances on your finger. But if you stop spinning, it falls. But eventually you just kind of tap the plate, you keep the momentum. And that's the power of software. Once that heavy lifting's over, you're just tapping the plate and keeping the momentum going and making real change in your business. That makes sense?
No, and that's a great way to put it, that it isn't solving all the problems, but it's giving you the information to solve the problems, which is a big difference.
And that kind of goes along with when a lot of restaurant owners think, well, I got this software, I've got to learn it, I've got to do it. Bullshit. You need to know it, but you need your team to do it because everything, it's data entry.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like if you're God's gift of data entry, you're not going to lead your business to success. But when I can share all the data entry and I can verify they're doing it and it's accurate, now I can do my role as a restaurant owner and lead the team using those numbers. Because that's the magic. When you can think strategically about your business, when you look at the numbers and go, this is where we're trending, and these are the changes I need to make to have a better operation and make the money I deserve.
Right. No, those are such good points. So talk to us a little bit about how COVID has changed. I mean, I think at the beginning of COVID, you and I did the 7 or 8 weeks of, cash flow webinars when nobody knew what was happening. I mean, it was a
Right.
terrifying time. But what have you seen, I guess looking back 2 years later and how it fundamentally changed the industry?
Well, I think fundamentally, the very first change was teaching people how important cash was.
Yeah.
That profits pay taxes, cash pays your bills. And typically, most restaurants only have enough acorns in the bank account to handle 2 weeks ago's bills. So when the pandemic hit, 25% of our businesses closed overnight because why? They didn't have any more money because the money stopped coming in the front door and there wasn't any money to pay the bills they'd already racked up. So understanding your cash flow, as you and I talked about in that 7-8 week period, was critical.
Yeah.
From there, it's truly understanding how to run your business efficiently. Those people that survived and made it through COVID and then made it to the great resignation because all of a sudden all these customers flooding back and I've got nobody to handle them.
Yeah.
And I'm working my ass off again. And you'd have one employee get exposed to COVID still, and you'd lose your whole kitchen and have to close. There couldn't have been a more challenging 2 years in our life. But COVID has made good operators better. And it has made every operator understand they cannot continue to do what they've always done and then run the business off their gut. I need my numbers.
Yeah.
I need managers. I need good training. I need to be, an employer of choice.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest change. Before COVID, we were still treating people kind of lower wages, working their ass off, not treating them well. Oh, if you go away, there's another person behind you. And now we're like, oh my God, I've got to pay more. And, I laugh now sarcastically that the $15 minimum wage, it was, oh my God, $15 minimum wage is coming. We're way past that in most markets anymore.
I know.
Because people want to attract people. But that means to truly be an employer of choice, pay is a part of it. But I need good supervision. I need flexibility. My employees need to feel appreciated. They need to understand they're a part of something bigger. I've got to share with them my why. I've got to lead them on a daily basis and have them buy into what we're doing. You're going to have the biggest challenge in the world. You're not going to have anybody work for you. And that's the biggest change, I think. If we look at the cost changes, the systems changes, no, it's really the employees. Because we had people laid off and said, all right, you can't make it through COVID. And they're like, oh, I can get a 9-to-5 job. Hell, I'm not going back.
Yeah.
How many cooks went into construction? Said I'm making double the money and I got all the overtime I want in the world. And then with the people that stayed with us, we worked their ass off. We worked our ass off. Then all these customers came back and we continued to say, you need to keep working. You need to keep working. You need to keep working. They're effing tired and they don't want to be in the business anymore. So we've got to make a concentrated effort to become employers of choice. That's probably the biggest change.
That's such a good point. It's amazing to see, what has changed in the employer. So what do you think people could do to be employer of choice? Or what is that differential to get your employees to be part of your team?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we have to look at, are we an employer of choice in the first place? And I'm going to tell you how you know. When a customer comes to one of your team members, whether they're a server or they're a cashier, hey, how do you like working here? Man, they will share. These people will these mother effers. Oh my God, they do this and this and this. And I can't wait to find another job. Well, you're in trouble because they're telling all their friends, all their family, they're telling your customers, for crying out loud, that you suck. So you're an employee of choice when they go, do you like working here? Oh my gosh, they are so awesome. That my mother tells a story of Paul Powell, first restaurant she ever worked as a manager. And he fixed one of his employees' teeth. Like he wouldn't smile, wouldn't do anything. He said, I'm going to change your life. Got him brand new teeth, full veneers. And the guy smiled and, sold like heck and was a great employee and worked really hard and did all these things because he felt appreciated.
Yeah.
Now, what we have to understand is it's pay, it's supervision. Oh yeah. By having a manager on the floor, people say to me, David, employees don't like rules. I say bullshit. What they hate is the inconsistency in management enforcing those rules. They love structure. So bringing that structure, that there's a system, a process, a way, and somebody ensuring everybody's held to the same level of accountability is huge. So we got pay, we got supervision. Oh, we need flexibility back. The reason why most line employees work in the restaurant business is they can make money. And then if they don't like their schedule this week, and they want to go water skiing, snow skiing, go to a concert, they go, somebody take my shift, somebody take my shift, somebody takes my shift until they got to pay rent. And let me have your shift. Let me have your shift, right? But it's that flexibility back. And the last piece is making sure they feel appreciated, that they're truly a part of something bigger. We 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we really wanted to bitch and moan about millennials. Oh my God, these millennials. Well, I got news for you. They bitch and moan about every generation.
Right.
But the truth is, millennials and younger, they're changing our industry because it needed to be changed, right? That's what they want, or they will not work for you for a long time, let alone 6 months. Like, you have got to become an employer of choice. And the sad part, and is it takes 6 months to a year to make that change, to go from this place sucks to telling all your friends and family how awesome that restaurant is to work for.
Yeah. Now, I think what's amazing about some of your coaching philosophy is that you empower the restaurant owner through their numbers, right? So that's sort of what we have in common, is
Right.
that idea of prime cost and really understanding your margins on that level. But what do you do to the restaurant owner who says, I'm in a DC, New York City, wherever, where my model just doesn't work anymore because of the rate that I have to pay? Like, what do you tell that person to get them back to prime cost and being in control of their numbers?
So I'd tell you right now that in the old days, I'd laugh and go, you got to be kidding me. I've got people in California, New York with $15 minimum wage running 55% prime cost and under. And I've got people in states like Georgia, they're still $2.13 an hour for a server. They're just running higher food costs. So in understanding the prime cost, if our labor is by God going to be much higher than anywhere else, doesn't matter, it's your restaurant. We've got a couple things we can do. Number one, we attack our prime cost and say, if I'm going to have higher labor and there's no way to control it, which is bullshit, but let's say there's no way to control it, then I've got to look at my menu. And that's what most restaurants have to do today. They have to look at their menus and say, hey, what changes can I make or do I need to make? And how we get there is accurate, up-to-date recipe costing cards, your product mix from your POS system. And by having what it costs, what we sell it for, how many we sell, we find out what your ideal food cost should be. Through menu engineering, we can see the changes we need to make. And it may require you to not sell chicken wings. So there was a period of time during the product shortages that chicken wings were so damn expensive and you couldn't even get them, that I had sports bars who were no longer selling chicken wings, but they had to make that decision. Like, I've got restaurants, you and I have a client who's a brew pub. During the pandemic, they were struggling financially, and it was mostly debt service. And their food cost was astronomical because a special chef created a menu and it wasn't there anymore. And I got them to spend $40,000 on a wood-fired pizza oven to add to their brew pub, to bring their food costs down, that they could actually survive and make it. And so you have to start to look at not just one thing, labor, what about cost of goods sold? And vice versa. Maybe your menu is too labor intensive, and we've got to reduce the number of items and how we do things to reduce prep hours, to reduce the number of people we need on the line. So this is where strategic thinking comes in. The numbers part tells you what you need to know, but you've got to interpret it to create your story and then your plan for success. Does that make sense?
No, definitely. And I think you're right that if you can dig in, there are some answers that are not just throwing up your hands and saying it doesn't work. So in this last 2 years, especially, but what's amazing also about your coaching is that you've done this a long time, right? Like, you have history and showing that it works. So what are the things that has made some people so successful? What are those intangible qualities about those successful business owners that you've worked with?
Well, the biggest thing is any successful restaurateur, they have a couple things in common. And this was based on the most successful restaurant operators I've ever worked with. I wrote a book called Restaurant Prosperity Formula, What Successful Restaurateurs Do. My old elite group, now my Mastery Plus, in this iteration of my business. Most successful people I ever worked with, they all have a passion for the business and they're persistent as hell. Like, you've got to have passion for hospitality. Otherwise, this business will eat you up. That's where the persistent comes in, because, man, if you weren't persistent, you were probably closing your doors. And many restaurants did on purpose. It was the final excuse was COVID. I don't want to do this anymore. So by having those personality traits, we then fall into what I call the restaurant prosperity formula. To be successful, to have prosperity, which is freedom for your restaurant, the financial freedom you deserve, you've got to be a great leader. Leadership is critical. Any problems in your restaurant, you created. The beautiful part is you're also the solution. Then we add to that systems and training. We have a system, a process, a way to doing anything and everything in your business. It's your way, right or wrong, plus training. And what that means is the most successful restaurant operators I've ever worked with realize they don't know what they don't know. They're always going to seminars and workshops and watching YouTube videos and taking coaching and reading books and articles. They're always consuming data because all of a sudden they go, oh, I didn't know that. And they're smart because then they teach their managers. Doesn't matter if you know, if you're God's gift to your restaurant, you'll be a prisoner. Under that is accountability. Doesn't matter if you have systems, doesn't matter if you have training, if you're not willing to hold people accountable. And in my world, if you teach them what their job is, how to do it, how well it should be done, more importantly, by when, and they demonstrate they can do that, there's no conflict. And it's not, I'm going to hold you answerable like a negative. I'm sorry, accountable. It's positive. I'm going to hold you answerable. And last but not least, you got to take action. You can consume all the data in the world. You can listen to you and I talk and get excited about making change. But if you do nothing, then nothing's going to change. And that is literally the formula for success. I've seen it over and over and over, and I've been doing this since 2003. So we're approaching 20 years, and I've seen people change their lives. That's the formula.
Yeah. It's such a good formula, and your book is fantastic. But what I would also love to dig a little bit on is, so a lot of people don't realize that you were a collegiate athlete. So obviously being shot maker, this is a little bit dwelling upon some of those, athletic things that we learn as kids or young adults that then carry with us to life. So how do you think that that has influenced, your view of the hospitality industry as you've coached over the years?
Well, I think so. I was a high school rower, scholarship athlete. I actually had a scholarship to Temple University and then Northeastern University, and I decided D1. Wanted to be a small fish in a big pond. And it was a rude awakening, but I went in with an ego that was this big because I was perfect. I was 16 to 22. I was still pretty perfect. But it taught me what hard work was. It taught me teamwork. It taught me leadership. If you want to get people, how to get a group of people to go in the same direction, be on the same page, want to achieve things, and truly wanting more in life, that I'd never settle. So when you look at what athletics bring to the table, there's a reason why I've been successful in my career. There's a reason why I'm a good coach, is because those same skills, the things that you learn as an athlete, they translate in business like there's no tomorrow, because you have to have, want to get it done. You want to take action. You want to lead a team. You want to work as a team. You don't want to let anything stop you because you set a goal. And then, it's like, was it 20 years ago, The Secret came out, the video and the book. Oh, The Secret. Well, it's right. Visualize what you want. But what people didn't realize is you got to work your ass off for that goal.
So true.
Right. So you visualize all day long, but what are you going to do to achieve that? And athletics do that. I mean, it's really powerful. And I'm going to tell you, there's an offshoot to that, because as you and I know, and our listeners don't know, I started rowing again this last July. I'm 55 years old. So I'm 35 years out of rowing. And I'm competing again because I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. And one of the things that's powerful about it is I know what it is. One point in time I was 215 pounds. I was 9% body fat. I was a D1 athlete. I mean, I was the height of whatever I could get done out of my body. And over the years, I fluctuate in weight. I was up to, with the pandemic, I think I got up to 268. Like that's a big dude. I'm 6'3", so that's a lot of weight. And I've lost 30 pounds in the last year because I'm rowing. Well, I know how to row. I know I have a rowing machine in my house. I've got weights. I've got all these things. But why the hell wasn't my lard ass on those things? I know what to do. Sometimes you need someone, a coach, to just go, you've got to show up and do. Okay. And so 6 days a week, I wake up at 3:45 in the morning to get on the lake by 5 because I got teammates counting on me. I'm going to be in a boat. If I don't show up, it screws up the lineup. And I have a coach who says, this is what you do. And I go, okay. And I get the results.
Yeah.
And so following a proven system, learning from somebody else who's done it, that coaching side, that translates into everything we do.
Yeah, that's so true. And we never stop. And as human beings, I think having that person pushing you is so important. Yeah. So as you look forward, right, you've done a lot. You've, built this amazing business. You sold a business. You built another amazing business. What's on store for the next 2 to 3 years?
I think the next 2 to 3 years is really finding a way to help more independents. See, here's the shift. I think in the old days would have been 2 years ago, that in most independent restaurants, if they heard you say, like you were an independent restaurant friend with another independent restaurant friend, and you said, I'm going to take on a coach, I'm going to bring on a consultant. First thing the other person would say is, don't you know how to run a restaurant? It's simple. Just run your restaurant. And it becomes an embarrassment, almost like a black eye, that you asked for help. Holy shit. How could you not be able to know how to run your business? It's basic. Well, it's not. It's probably the toughest business I know. And so today, over the next 3 years, we look at that is truly, as the walls have come down and people understand, I don't know what I don't know. And I actually need to find somebody who, for instance, knows the map, the roadmap to success. Because, for instance, one of the things I tell people, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, and I'm not. I'm really not. I've just made every mistake that you can make. I've already imagined stepping on a landmine, and is it a positive or a negative effect? Negative, you blow your leg off. Well, I've gone through lots of prosthetics. I've stepped on every landmine in the world. So what makes me bright is not that I'm smart. It's that I know where the landmines are. Don't do that. And this is what you do instead to get around. And it's trying to help people see that plan for success. But most importantly is understanding the restaurant business does not have to own you. Truly, by putting the right systems in place, by having managers on your team and holding them accountable. I have people who have 2 days off in a row. I've got people who don't go into the restaurants anymore except for to work strategically, people taking vacations and truly making the money they deserve, changing their lives. So it's more of the same, I guess. I want to just expand that to help even more people. But the key there is, you got to be open to the idea still. You can't be that old person who goes, coach, consultant, holy crap. I don't want to be embarrassed that I don't know how to run my business. You got to be kidding me, right? I don't know about you. I have coaches every year for something that I want to buy speed. You've done it before. You're more successful. Why should I waste money trying to learn and make mistakes when you can just tell me exactly where to go?
Right. Just tell me what to do. I'll take notes and I'll do it.
Right. Exactly.
No, that's so true. And I think that's where, I think in these next years, all of the technology has at least enabled people to get your message and understand what coaching is. Whereas, 15 years ago, you didn't really know what that was. And so where can people find you? Because you do so much on YouTube and social media.
So there's lots of places. Let's first, if you just want to see who I am, go to davidscottpeters.com. That's my website. And I invite you, there's a button to get on a discovery call with me if you want to learn more about what I do, and I can learn more about you and help you with your business. But otherwise, free information, great places. Man, you go to YouTube, David Scott Peters. Now, I will tell you, I built a YouTube channel in my old company, so you're going to see me compete with myself. So my old self, still great information. Watch every video. But you want to see the fresh stuff that I post on a weekly basis, go to David Scott Peters on YouTube. You can catch my podcast, Restaurant Prosperity Formula, found on all the popular podcasting services, of which you've been on as well. And, just by grabbing those three places, you'll have a ton of information, things that are actionable, get inspired. And I'll tell you one last place to go. Restaurant Owner Coaching and Support Facebook group. It's my private Facebook group for my non-members. You have to be a restaurant owner or a GM and answer the questions. But every Friday I do a Facebook Live called Shoot the Shit with DSP. And I'll give you 15, 20 minutes of me getting pumped about your upcoming weekend, get you excited about crushing your goals, and get excited about becoming the best you possible. The last part of that, 10, 15 minutes, is I open it up to answer your questions. So it's a place to get free coaching if you want, as well as other restaurant owners in there that want to share. So those are the places I'd say, if you wrote it all down real fast, you can find me everywhere.
Yes. And I love your Friday call. They're so good. I listen most weeks. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for everything that you've done for the industry. I think it's amazing the content that you provide to especially independents. So really appreciate everything that you've done.
Thanks so much, Ann. I appreciate you having me on.